Hey there, entrepreneur. Welcome back to another fascinating episode of Fascinating Founders. I'm your host, Nicole Holland, and I'm thrilled to be your guide as we dive in and uncover the stories that came before the success of some of the world's most fascinating founders. Hailing from a multitude of industries and socioeconomic starts, you're going to learn what's made these fascinating men and women realize their dreams from an inspired idea to millions in revenue, disrupting, innovating, and impacting humanity for the better. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Podcasting Goldmine. Are you reaching and converting your ideal buyers through podcasts yet? You'd better believe that your competition is. The podcast industry is exploding right now, with billions of dollars being poured into it and well over 1 million active podcasts in the directories. In just the past 90 days alone, hundreds of thousands of new podcasts have been added, and the industry will continue to grow whether or not you're a part of it. Your market, my friend, is listening to podcasts, and I would love to personally help you design a strategic podcast marketing plan to help your company scale and reach your business growth goals through podcasts. From getting you featured as the expert guest on premium podcasts that your ideal buyers are already listening to designing and launching a profitable podcast for your company, to show sponsorship and advertising. Podcasting for business growth is totally my jam. If you're ready to take a serious look at how you can effectively leverage podcasts for business growth, visit podcastinggoldmine.com and request a complimentary consultation for us to explore how we can make podcasts work for you. Again, that URL is podcastinggoldmine.com. Now, you never know what we're going to get into on an episode of Fascinating Founders. So get your notebook ready, cozy up with a great cup of joe, and let's dive into another inspiring journey with today's guest. My guest today, Laura Wright, has closed a cool $43 million in sales and then some over the past 20 years. She's the founder of Epic at Sales, but for a time, Laura Wright's life was anything but epic. After her real estate company crashed and burned in 2008, Laura found herself over $500,000 in debt, while being the sole provider of her family, no less. There, she was lost, demoralized, and doubting her ability to rise up from this setback until she remembered two of her greatest gifts: the power to see potential in any situation and the ability to close just about any sale with love. A few years later, Laura made a name for herself in the coaching industry as the go-to sales ninja for service-based women in business, helping her clients scale to 6 figures within months and cross 7 figures in record time. She's also expanded her mission to change the way all women rise from the entrepreneurial dips, and even wrote the rulebook to prove it in No Woman Down, 51 Lessons to Create Your Epic Income Rise. A self-published author, speaker, growth strategist, and master sales coach, Laura's approach to creating wealth and scaling businesses is simple, effective, and steeped in the absolute belief that sales is love. Laura Wright, I am so excited to have you here. We have been chatting before hitting record for a long time, and we need to get this interview in. But I am so honored that you decided to join us on Fascinating Founders. You are a fascinating woman, and your journey story has been so interesting. Can you tell us briefly where you are today? And then we're going to start going back. And I got some questions for you about the journey.
I can't wait. Thank you, Nicole. I just so appreciate you having me here. So where I am today is I am the go-to sales coach and consultant for multi-6 and 7-figure women who are really building true empires. One of the things that we talk about a lot about is my clients are real business owners. We are doing things that are 20-year, 30-year legacy lifetime businesses, and I'm really excited about it. So I currently steer the ship of my 7-figure business, which we're aiming for multi-7 figures, and I love doing it.
Brilliant and beautiful. So let's go back, because I know there are a number of pivots to get you to where you are right now. When you were growing up, let's start there. What was it you wanted to be when you grew up?
There's two answers to this. So one, I wanted to be an orthodontist for a very short amount of time because I learned that they made a lot of money. And then I learned that they had to dissect a dead human body. And I was a vegetarian at the time and decided I didn't want to do that. So I kind of fell into going to art school. And it was like a hobby, fun thing, but it was the only thing I was really interested in. So I have a degree in sculpture. I have a BFA. And that was what I wanted as a kid. And then somebody said to me, you can't make money as an artist. And I know that's what led me to becoming a creative business owner.
So did you ever make money in art? Did you ever try it?
It's funny. I sold like one or two paintings, and I still remember like this horrible man, I will not use his name, who was the department chair, sat me down and I said to him, how am I going to earn a living with this degree? And he said, you need to marry a rich man, or nah, that's probably all you're ever going to do. And so I got up out of his office and changed department chairs, but it kind of stuck with me that there wasn't a possibility to make money doing art. And I started really getting curious about how do you make money by hearing that my profession probably couldn't make me money, which I know is what sparked my creativity and my interest. And I have to say, I jokingly say that I actually use my sculpture degree every single day because what I learned from that was a way to see things differently than everybody else sees them, how to approach projects, how to like creatively and strategically make things come to life that never existed. And that's what business is for me.
Amazing. So at some point though, you got into real estate. Can we talk about how you went from this budding artist and like disheartened and then real estate? Like what was that path?
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly what happened. So I'm in art school. I am doing the classic type A overachieving. I have taken too many credits. I am working 2 jobs. I had bought a house and I'm like 19 and I totally burned myself out. So I realized that I couldn't stay in school, like something had to give. And so I went and got a job doing events for an arts company, like doing live events. And that kind of spiraled into me doing live events for another company that had really big corporate clients like ExxonMobil and Staples. So I'm trotting around the globe. I'm doing multi-million-dollar projects. And then 9/11 happens. And I'm working downtown in Arlington, Virginia, going over the GW Bridge. And I see the Pentagon go up in flames. And it like I can tell the story now from not being like in the emotion of it, but I also had a really challenging summer. My best friend's mother passed away, who was like a second mom. The relationship I was in that was supposed to be like a marriage relationship, thank God, because I'm in love of my life. My soulmate husband is amazing. But that broke apart and I had kind of like one of those wake up moments and decided to quit my job in corporate. After 4 years, I'm 24 at the time, and I just couldn't do it anymore. So I quit that and I decided to go back to art school to finish my degree. And I realized I needed to do something to make money, but I needed time to be at school. And I had this property that I had owned, and my mom had kept wanting to buy more real estate. And I actually kind of got pissed at hearing it. So I said, screw it. I'm going to sell my house and go buy a bunch of rental properties and figure this thing out. So that was the trajectory of me getting into the real estate. And I want you to hear, like, I did the big thing. I like sold a house, and I didn't buy a house. I sold a house and bought, I think it was 4 rental units in one fell swoop.
And so what happened? How'd that go? So here you are, you're jumping out of the plane.
So it went amazingly and faster and slower than I wanted. I got myself moving and very quickly realized I actually didn't know what I didn't know. So I went and found a mentor. And the person that I chose to help grow my business, and I actually co-founded with my mom, we decided to do things differently than everybody else because the real estate market is very masculine, very sleazy, very everything that is seedy and bad that can be. You've ever heard the stories? They're probably true. So we decided to do things differently. And I played by the rules. I bought properties at proper loan to value rate. I started working with my mentor, and we actually formed another like corporate entity so we could gather together. We ran 2 construction crews. I think we did over 100 properties in 5 years where we either purchased and sold, renovated and sold, or held as rentals. And then because my life is very spotted with extremes, every entrepreneur has a story. 2008, does anybody remember what happened to the real estate bubble? I remember very well because we had 2 things kind of line up at the same time. I had actually 3 important things. One, I told my boyfriend, husband at the time, that it was safe for him to quit his job because he hated it and go back to school. And because I had it covered, my business was thriving. This was in the fall of 2008, right around when Lehman Brothers kind of evaporated. And we also took on this project that was, when your gut says no, but your brain says you should, and you don't listen to your gut. I'm raising my hand right now. I did that. We bought a property that didn't work unless we could subdivide it. And if it would work, we would have had this huge windfall. But if it didn't work, it literally didn't work. And it was the final linchpin that pulled the thread out of our entire company. We not only lost everything, we had 2 families inside of a partnership. The brothers don't ever speak to each other again. My mother and I have had estrangement, not just related to that, but with everything. And I found myself $550,000 worth of business debt and about $73,000 worth of personal debt. And I was hemorrhaging on average about $9,000 a month with no income in sight. So what was this multi-million-dollar thriving, beautiful machine crash, burned, failed, and I found myself flat on my face.
Wow. Heavy stuff. So at that point then, I know it's easier for us to go back and talk after we're through it. If you can recall, during the time, what was your mindset? Because you seem as and from what I know of you, you're a go-getter. You don't let things stop you. That's just who you are. And I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs, well, not a lot of entrepreneurs, I feel like the people who are on this show, the folks who reach a level of success, they may get hit over and over, but they keep getting up because it's just what they have to do. It's who they are. At the same time, there's a lot of people who don't know how to recover. And people may be tuning in who this resonates with, where, COVID or whatever, some life experience may have happened and you feel stuck and everything is gone. And can you remember what you were feeling at the time and what spark helped you recognize that something had to change?
Yeah, I can tell you exactly what's going on. I've spoken this story from stage before, but I also viscerally remember it. So the hardest moment was right at the start of 2009. And I was locked out of my house and it was drizzling and I had this thin little coat and my cell phone had less than a bar left on it. And I had luckily locked the dog inside instead of outside with me. And my boyfriend, then husband now, was off at school. So I was locked out of the house for 5 hours. And I remember just breaking down, bawling, the disgusting, sobbing, everything. And it was the weight kind of fell down on me because what was happening is during that time, I was not telling him how bad things were. I was holding it all in together by myself, pretending everything was okay. I was holding up false pretenses. I was trying to push through, when you do that thing where high achievers, we do this. We're speak it into life, go hard, we can get it done. And it was getting worse and worse and worse. So I remember I was up all night, when that thing of they say, what is the person thinking about at 3 a.m. when they wake up in the middle of the night? Well, I can tell you what they were thinking about because I was literally up at 3 in the morning in the middle of the night, trying to figure out how to change things. And I was listening to I was trying to consume to fix, and that didn't happen. So what ended up happening, and the spark that changed everything for me and catalyzed everything, was when my then boyfriend, now husband, came home. I sat him down on the couch and I told him what was going on. And I I addressed what was happening. I acknowledged. I like to say it's that thing like if you're swimming, if you get in a pool and you feel like you're going to drown, you should let yourself go down to the bottom, because the bottom you can push off of and jump back up. So I acknowledged my bottom. He now tells me, this is always a fun moment. 20 years later, almost, it's not 20 years later, but we've been together for 20 years. But all this time later, he said, Laura, I knew how bad it was. I was waiting for you to come to me. And so I spoke first to him, and then I sat down and started figuring out a plan. And I want to tell you, I snapped my fingers and it was better magically. And it almost was, but it did take some time. I realized I was unemployable, so I couldn't go get a job. Like entrepreneurs, when you run a business, especially when you run, like, what was my resume going to say? Like, I ran this multi-million-dollar business and then it disappeared, and I don't know what it is that I know how to do, and I only know how to do real estate, but that doesn't feel right for me. So what I did to create my plan was I started listening to my intuition. My intuition led me to reach out to actually a coach, because I had started teaching other people how to invest in real estate. So I started getting into the personal development side, the training, and I could see there was something there. And I said yes to an opportunity that was paying me $400 a month, which, if anybody knows anything, that doesn't cover any bills really. But I led with my gut to know what I wanted. And within a year, my boyfriend became my husband. We set up a plan to pay down my debt. It took me 6 years to pay off all the debt. I will tell you, the only reason I didn't file bankruptcy was because I legit could not scrape together the $2,600 that it cost to pay the bankruptcy attorney. And it was free for me to do the debt repayment. So I did repay my debt. I managed to negotiate some pay downs, which was great. And I took 6 years to repay it. In that 6 years, we moved into our dream home. We actually moved 4 times during that, but the first step was into a dream home. And now we're living in this house, which is a very fun story too. We had a child. I decided, divined, and created what I wanted as a new business. And it probably took me about 3 years. I wish I could go back in time and have the confidence I have today, because the number one thing that happened when my business fell apart was I lost identity and courage. And those two things really hit. And I remember I was writing my book, and my husband said something to me about how he's like, honey, I don't see how many times you've fallen down. Because I was like, I've fallen down a lot. If you're an entrepreneur, you try. And when we try and it's great, it's great. And when it's not, it's not. He said, I just see how many times you rise back up. And that's what I hold on to. And so my speed of recovery over these last, I've been an entrepreneur for almost 20 years now. The speed of recovery that I have is so much faster.
Wow. And so you now are doing what you love. And time is quickly running out, and I know you have somewhere to be. So in just a few minutes, can you kind of sum up how you got to this? So it took a few years for you to really get to this place of your dream life, your dream business, at least. Can you take us through some of those key points that helped you to define what it is you need to be doing?
Yes. Okay. So the first thing that I did when I said I took that little job, I went inside of someone's business and I started telling her little things to do that I understood. And in the 2 years that I was working with her, we went from I think she's about 250. We went to about 1.2. I helped her host 3 live events. And when I say helped, I mean, you guys know when you run somebody else's business, but they're out there on the front, that's what was really happening. And then I had another client that I helped create probably about $1.5 million in maybe about 3 or 4 months. And then I had another client that I sold $85,000 worth of her services, including one $50,000 package in a month. And what I want you to hear is this. I was doing the done for you sales. I was doing all the strategy. I was doing all the doing. And what I was making was penance. And the good thing that happened with this is I got pissed off. I got really pissed off that I was able to do it for somebody else and not do it for myself. And so my husband actually said, why don't you just make up a client that's you? Go sell for her if you can't sell for you. And I like to do one better when I hear a good idea. So I decided to make myself that person that I wanted. So I stopped doing the dollars for hours kind of work and done for you services. I sat down and I sold my booty off. I did exactly what I teach my clients to do when you want to shift and change. I focused on doing sales calls exclusively for an entire month. I was able to book out more than 6 figures in 1 month for myself, which was magical. But what's more important was I was able to show myself that I could sell my coaching and my consulting, my brain power, without having to do the doing. And that really catalyzed me building out programs so I could work with clients one-on-one. I established how to grow them into group programs. I've done my own live events. I've been able to really grow something strong for myself. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that what I do now is I always lead with my gut, my intuition. I like to sell it and deliver it and make money and refine it and define it. I am always looking for strategic leverage, whether this is, I like to say, the thing must be done, but does it have to be done by me? And then I also look to say, wait a minute, does the thing need to be done? So I am constantly, for myself and for my clients, deleting things that need to be deleted, to delegate everything I can. And whatever I do is the highest leveraged and most profitable thing in my business. And this focus has been what's allowed me to be strong and weather storms and shift with the tides without having to have any pivot. And I'll even say that my business is probably the strongest. It always gets stronger, and it's the strongest now than it's ever been. And I am the most satisfied by the work that I'm doing, excited by the clients that I have, and excited about what comes next.
Love it. Amazing, amazing journey. I could talk to you forever, and we proved that prior to recording, but I'll have to have you back on the Nicole Holland Show if you're open to coming back. Awesome. And until then, what would you like to leave my listeners with in terms of final words of wisdom and where they can connect with you directly and get more amazing value from you?
Awesome. Okay, so the most important thing is this. There is a lot of money to be made in this world. And I believe that when strong, powerful women hold wealth, we can actually heal and change the world. So I want you to ask yourself, what am I selling? How much am I selling it for? How am I being the most bold, helping the most people? Do not put yourself at the bottom of the list. Put yourself at the top and raise your rates. I can confidently say I've only ever had one client in my entire existence that I've had to reduce their rates. Ask for more, demand more. Most clients are over delivering, undercharging, and you need to claim the piece of the pie because you're going to do the good work with the money. Now, where to come find me if you'd like some love and support is my site is epicatsales.com, EPICAT, the word sales.com. And you can find me all over social media simply by typing in Epic at Sales or my name, Laura Wright.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And there you have it. Thanks again for tuning in. I do realize that there are about a million other things you could have been doing over the past half hour, and the fact that you chose to spend it listening to this podcast means the world to me. I would love to know what your biggest takeaway from today's episode was, so feel free to send it on social, tagging me at the Nicole Holland on Facebook or Instagram, or send me a message from my website, fascinatingfounders.com. You'll also find show notes with the transcript from this and all other past and future podcast episodes on the website. That URL once more is fascinatingfounders.com. Thanks to my podcasting goldmine team for the production of today's episode, and a special shout out to Effie Ceruti for composing the intro and outro music for this season. If you're looking for custom composed music for your own podcast, or any other aspect of strategy, design, or production for your existing or new podcast, the Podcasting Goldmine team can help. Give us a ring at 218-GET-SEEN or contact us through the website for a custom quote. And once again, if you are ready to explore effectively leveraging podcasts for business growth, visit podcastinggoldmine.com and request a complimentary consultation to explore making podcasts work for you. Again, that URL is podcastinggoldmine.com. Coming up on Fascinating Founders, I'm excited to introduce you to more fascinating men and women who've taken their inspired idea and against all odds have grown it into a multi-million or billion-dollar enterprise. Until next time, this is Nicole Holland signing off.